Back once again on a beautiful summer night here in New York City, continuing our conversation with Michael Kulma of the Asia Society, talking about U.S.-Asian relations. We have the president in South Korea right now. Does he have to deliver on this deal in Congress?
On the free trade agreement?
Yeah.
I mean, certainly, as you suggested, and as your report suggested, he would very much like to complete this deal before the end of his presidency. However, I think there's a lot of opposition in a democratically controlled Congress. President-elect Obama is not a strong proponent of it, so that gives us some indication about the Democratic Congress and their general feelings about it. Personally, I don't think it's very likely that the deal is going to get done, and so he's going to have a very difficult time trying to make that happen over the course of the next few months.
What happens then in Korea? I mean, we saw some indications of some protests there, and we've seen in past history as our guide that when Koreans are angry at the U.S., they become very visible and very vocal in demonstrating their unhappiness, shall we say. What happens to this relationship then?
I mean, I think this is one aspect of the relationship. Overall, as I suggested earlier, there's still very positive attitudes, generally speaking, I think, in both countries towards the other country.
Does it complicate our ability to try to close up the deal, the nuclear deal with the North?
Not finishing. I mean, it maybe adds a level of complexity. I don't think that's the overarching problem or issues, however, dealing with the six-party talks and trying to denuclearize the Korean Peninsula. I think there are a lot of other issues, not the least of which is the relationship at the moment between North and South Korea, which has taken a definite turn for the worse.
Why?
Many issues. The conservative stance of the new government in South Korea under this president, where we see these beef protests and whatnot, he has taken a marked change in the policy of the South Korean government towards North Korea. More sticks, less carrots. In addition, a few short weeks ago, there was the killing of the South Korean tourist in North Korea at the Mount Kumgang tourist area. South Korea has called for a joint investigation. The North has denied that request, and there's been a lot of verbal sparring as a result of that. And so, while on one side of this equation, where we have seen some movement on the six-party peace talks, we're seeing a little bit of a problem, I think, in the bilateral relationship between the North and the South.
How much can the U.S. count on China and good relations or improving relations with China to achieve some of the stuff on the Korean Peninsula?
I think certainly, having a positive relationship with China has net positive effects for that. I think you've seen positive steps in that relationship over the course of the last year and a half, particularly as we've moved along in this agreement in trying to move North Korea step by step from one place to another. And positive relations between the United States and China certainly feed into that.
Ultimately, when this president leaves office in about 6 months, his record in dealing with Asia will be what? And the way Asians look at him, I know it's tough to generalize from country to country, will be what?
That is a very difficult question. Again, I think it goes back to to the original discussion, and that is really a bit of a mixed bag. On the Korean Peninsula, let's just focus there for a second. I think there would be a lot of people who suggested that there was a lot of time that was wasted. If what you were trying to get to is where you are now, perhaps you could have begun that process
at the beginning of the administration.
Years ahead of time. At the same time, I mean, I think there's a generally positive feeling in U.S.-China relations as far as the attention and whatnot that has been paid by the Bush administration to China. So I think it depends upon exactly what issue we happen to be talking about, what the overall legacy will be of the Bush administration in Asia.
And how far down the road we go and look back with the eyes of historians and not just journalists. Although you scholars are pretty good at that, too. So we have to take a break. We appreciate you coming on in. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Michael Kulma, the Asia Society. Back in a couple of moments. More on China and the Olympics. Don't go away.
Tune in.